Hello, hello to everybody out there all over the world, hopefully. Welcome to the Lonely Planet Family Travel Hangout. I believe this is the third Hangout that Lonely Planet have done, and the first one on family travel, so we are pretty excited by the whole thing. Why am I here? I'm Tom Hall. I've got two reasons for being here. I'm the editor of the Lonely Planet website, and for my sins, I have 3 children, and I obviously like to go travelling a lot with them. I'm going to hesitate to describe myself as an expert because of the series of calamities that have befallen me on numerous family trips. Maybe I can tell you about some of those as we go through, but we have got a panel of people who do know what they're talking about when it comes to family travel. So I will just briefly introduce those guys. We have Caz and Craig Makepeace from the Why Travel blog. Yeah.
Hello.
Kirstie and Stuart from the Family Adventure Project. Yeah, there. And Gina and Simon from our Global Adventure as well. So,
hello everyone.
So while this session is intended to be obviously lots of picking the brains of people who know what we're talking about, we're sure that you know what you're talking about also. We're looking forward to seeing your questions or your comments either in the comment section on this page or on Twitter using the hashtag LPFamilyTrav. So we'll be coming back to that one over the course of this. This Hangout's probably going to run for somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on how many questions we get through. And we really hope to hear from as many of you as possible. And if you do get in touch, just let us know of any examples of great countries, cities, places to stay, things to do. Don't be shy about outing good options as you're going around. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump in. And we're going to start this question. Caz and Craig, travelling with kids, I think it's really hard work. Why would you do it?
Well, it is really hard work. But yeah, I guess it's, you know, such an experience to have those memories travelling with your kids and spending every day together. Sometimes it can be nuts spending every day together, but you know, it's quality time. And I came across a proverb the other day which I really loved, and I thought it really relates to family travel, is that you know, we desire to bequeath 2 things to our children. One is roots and the other is wings, and I think family travel does that perfectly.
Yeah, I guess like Kaz was saying, it's tough, you know, just day-to-day living at home is tough. Getting our 6-year-old daughter to school was tough, and dinner time at home was craziness. So sometimes it used to be the same problems but a different location. But for us, it comes back to you know, why Kaz and I started traveling and why we started our blog was to accumulate memories, not just possessions. So that's basically, you know, what we're all about. Materialistic things can lose value, but creating priceless memories, you know, they last forever. So yeah.
Good stuff. What do you think, Kirstie and Stuart? Got anything to add on that one? Generally, why would you go?
Well, for me, I go because travelling with kids, for me it's way more fun. We used to travel very fast, and we used to bomb through life. And when we go away with the kids, it gives us some space together and a chance to get to know each other and to get around each other's personalities. Just have fun together.
It's also about, for me, it's about teaching them things, you know, showing them places, having challenges, seeing what you're capable of doing. So a lot of our travel is a more adventurous ilk, you know, so we like to get ourselves into a difficult fix and then see if we can find a way out of it. And actually sometimes we're a better family in the hard times than in the easy times.
I think that's very true, actually. And Gina and Simon, you're just sort of starting your adventure. What would you say is the you know, the motivation for you guys?
Well, I mean, like you said, we're just planning our travel at the moment. Our world travel, anyway. We've done a bit of domestic, but we always said, as parents, that as soon as our children were old enough, we wanted to slap a passport in their hand and send them on their way, the way that we did when we were younger. And then as they sort of grew older, Lucy had her birthday last year, her 11th birthday, and it just kind of dawned on us, well, what are we waiting for? Why don't we do it with them? Why wait until they're adults to do it? Let's just go do it together.
Yeah, for me, you know, Gina always said it was, you know, I'm going to send her off. You know, we had such a great learning experience when we were younger, travelling the world, and it sort of always struck me that, well, hang on a minute, I'm a bit jealous about this. Why are we going to send our kids off? I want to be a part of that adventure with them. You know, I want to join in that and take them around the world and relive some of those experiences we had with them when we were just setting out.
So I'm going to jump just to, I think this might be a dilemma that lots of people face. The motivations that you guys outline, travel is in many ways more fun with kids. I certainly agree with that. Definitely a bonding experience, and it's something that can legitimately be a part of people's lives as they're growing up, and everybody benefits from that. Practically, though, it seems very hard to pack for going away with lots of you without bringing the entire contents of your house and then some. So what do you need to pack, and what can you live without? I might start with you guys, Gina and Simon. Presumably you're packing as we speak. You need to pack that.
Well, we're actually, Tom, we're actually going about it a different way. We've decided we're going to reduce the house to what we can fit in a suitcase. So we've spent the last 12 months going through, what are the essential things.
We still have a printer, though.
Yeah, we still do. But Craig and Kaz were talking about experiences and the memories, the memories that you can create. And our last 12 months at home in Adelaide has been about garage sales and eliminating those things, and it's amazing. You put a box of Lego out in the garage and it disappears and doesn't get missed. So I think that you can narrow it down to some pretty essential items that you can fit into a suitcase.
Yeah, 4 bags. That's it.
4 bags. That's what we're going to reduce our life to. So and then in the same statement, expand it so much more.
Yeah.
Cool. Crumbs. What about you guys, Kirstie and Stuart? What do you think about packing?
We're experts in the art of travelling with nothing. I mean, a lot of our tours have been on bicycles. So I think when we think about simplifying, it's one to wear and one to wash. And what else do you need?
And to be honest, when you have to think of dragging it up an Alp or something, you get quite disciplined in what you want to take. And so do the kids, because they have to transport their own stuff as well now.
So I have been known to cut a toothbrush in half.
He has.
That sort of thing.
Nice one.
A lot of myth about having to take everything. You can travel very light, and it's a good way of teaching kids actually that a lot of stuff doesn't matter.
And also they collect so much on the way. We start with nothing, but within days we seem to have a bag full of stones and a bag full of sticks and everything else like that. So actually you can start with nothing.
Yeah.
Cutting a toothbrush in half is the most extreme weight-saving measure I've ever heard.
I've got a question there. Was it in half long ways, or was it in half across the
Yeah, fewer bristles.
How much function? Was there a new marketable product out of that? That's what we need to look at.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Caz and Craig, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about packing? What do you reckon?
Yeah, it can be tough, especially depending on your age of your kids. You could have a stroller and a car seat, nappies and wipes, and the odd toy here and there. So yeah, it's definitely hard, and I hate clutter, so I hate carrying too much. But and depending where you go too, generally you can buy something if you need it urgently. So take it. What's the saying? Take half your clothes and double the budget. I think that is pretty true for most places. But one thing we've just started using, I'm sure they've been out there a while, is those packing cells, like to get ourselves organised with, each cell has t-shirts or socks and undies and pants and stuff. Otherwise, stuff just gets thrown everywhere and it drives me crazy.
Oh, it's been such a lot.
Ours just arrived today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you love them.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. Because we're in our camper trailer now, and storage is limited, so trying to fit everything in this nice little place, very helpful.
Cool. I'm gonna ask this question, and I'm probably gonna leave it with you and come back to a little bit. But question from James Kay, who is a resident of these parts in our London office. He asks, is there anything about travelling which is actually easier when you have kids in tow? Now, does anyone have anything to add on that right now? If not, I can come back to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
I've got one thing
on that one. I think actually. Meeting people is easier with kids. Wherever you go in the world, people recognise family and they understand it and they don't feel threatened by it. And kids are often a magnet for conversation openings. So I think actually meeting people and interacting is much easier with kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of our biggest tips is whether you're travelling as a family or anyway is to slow down. I think they force you to slow down and spend more time in fewer places, and allows you to dive deeper into an area, and can also save you money from like too many flights and buses and trains. Really eats into your budget and that. So yeah, slowing down. And it's another way to meet the locals easier too, the longer you're in a place as well. So
I would agree with you there. And one of our biggest disasters usually when travelling is when we're trying to overschedule the children and pack too much in. It's far easier when you do slow it down.
So, just in terms of getting the most out of your time, you know, I would posit that for many of us, travel is a series of compromises. I mean, how do you go about balancing kids' activities and adult activities when you're travelling, and indeed when you're doing the adult activities? How do you stop kids from getting bored? Does anyone want to grab that one?
Well, I was just going to say one of the benefits of travelling with kids is that it's a great justification to get into the Lego exhibit. So for me, you know, the adult and the children things are quite interchangeable. So
we went to Bricktopia on the weekend.
Yeah, we did. It was great.
We do a lot of outdoor things, so that's really easy to find the balance there between adult and children's interests, because together we love jumping on our bikes and exploring and walking and hanging out on the beach. But if there's something in particular that might not fit the kids so much, we just pack a bag of things for them. It'll have colouring pencils, you know, a couple of toys, just something that's going to occupy them. Or we might look for places that might have a little play area or something there that's good for the kids.
For our children who are older, quite often it works to set them a challenge, and something that is quite challenging that we all have to achieve, or a theming the trip in an interesting way.
Now, I agree with Simon as well that actually sometimes it brings out the child in you, which is a great thing, and sometimes actually we'll split. So, you know, do something more adventurous, and the other will do something with the younger kids, which is more suited to them. So we don't always do everything together. Sometimes you split it up.
Kirstie, you just mentioned giving a trip a theme. What would an example of a theme for a trip be?
Well, we try to theme all our trips actually, and have since we started travelling with the children. One that springs to mind with me was when we travelled across Europe, and we took 5 recorders, and we decided we were going to learn to play the Blue Danube on the recorder, and we busked as we went, and we ended up busking outside the Vienna Opera House, having learned 5 different parts. That's a bit of the boredom away as well. We've done other crazy things.
Please don't ask us to play that.
Yeah.
You open the door. You open the door. We'll close it.
The video is on YouTube.
The Blue Danube. Yeah.
We were travelling down the Danube at the time. You know, It was all very linked. Another year, it was the anniversary of the Moomins. The first Moomin book was published 60 years ago, so we decided we'd make a trip to Moomin World.
On a bicycle.
On a bicycle, and we travelled right the way across the Baltic states, 19 ferries and 1,000 miles of cycling to get to Moomin World. And amazingly, you know, you say to the kids, "Shall we go swimming this afternoon?" They say no. You say, "Shall we miles to Moomin World, taking 6 weeks?" And they say, "Yeah, let's go."
Now, I'm aware we have a preponderance of Australians on the Hangout with us. It would be remiss of me not to take advantage of that, especially because lots of people, certainly myself included, would love to take our kids to Australia. In fact, when I asked my guys where they'd want to go, it's where they always ask to go, which is handy because it's really close to London and really cheap to get there. So I'm glad they chose that over, say, you know, I have a great passion for northern France or something like that. But what tips can you offer on Australia? Best places, no-nos, and you know, is it realistic to tackle something like going to Uluru and the outback?
I think, yeah, you really have to plan your trip carefully, especially with kids, and, you know, really work out what it is that you want to see and do, because you don't want to be coming over here for 2 weeks and racing to Uluru and then trying to get over to Perth and then to Sydney, and that's just not going to be fun for anybody. But I think, you know, depending on your time limit, it's realistic to fit in Uluru with something else that you want to see. But yeah, really plan it well. And a big tip I have is, obviously the wildlife is a really big thing in Australia, and there are so many cool little places, some that aren't even far from Sydney, where you can actually be in the wild with like the kangaroos and koalas. So look for those experiences rather than, you know, going to the zoo when you first arrive in Australia.
Yeah, we'd agree. Planning's essential. You know, we took a driving trip a couple of years ago, about a 3-week trip. We drove from the Sunshine Coast down the east coast of Australia into Sydney, and then across to Canberra and down to Cooma and up over the Alpine Way through the snow, and then down into Melbourne. Great Ocean Road back around through to Mount Gambier in southern South Australia before heading back up to Adelaide. So that, you know, that took 3 weeks to do that trip, and that was pushing. You know, we didn't see as much of our great country as you would want to see in that time. So you know, planning the time that you come to Australia is essential as well. You know, it's, you know, our summers are hot. You know, 45. If you're going to do the outback, you don't want to do it in February. No. You know, Uluru is accessible as it's on the main road that runs up from Adelaide up to Darwin, but there's parts of the outback that are you know, very remote. You need the right vehicle. The Udinadatta track in South Australia, for example, 620 k's of unsealed dirt road. If you're going to plan to make that trip, you need to organise a fuel dump. You know, you've got to have you know, 200 litre.
Water,
yeah,
fuel.
you got to have a 200 litre drum of fuel put out at a location for you to pick that up, so that you're going through in some of those tracks, Udinadatta track and Streslecki track and those sorts of things. So, but you know, there's trips. Certainly, Uluru is you know, is accessible. You know, in a flight, but don't take it for granted. It's a big place, lots of time, lots of planning.
Yeah, it still happens. You know, you think most people understand that, but you know, we meet people all the time. There's an Englishman, actually, Tom, we met somewhere, I can't remember where now, but he took the bus from Perth to Sydney and complained that all he saw was desert for 3 days. And I'm like, I thought a little bit of common sense would have told you that.
We met two guys from South Africa who rode bikes from Perth to Sydney in February. And
that's insane.
Yeah, just incredible.
Yeah, so it's stuff that
Go on, Craig.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted.
No, I was going to say, even for Sydney, like, it's no secret it's one of the most expensive cities, but you can still do it on a budget. Like, there's a lot of, like, seeing the icons, you can still get an experience with them for free. Like, instead of spending $200 and climbing over the bridge, you can walk across for free. Just get a different perspective on a lower level. You can do like the Bondi to Coogee coastal walk. You can picnic in botanical gardens. Like there's a free CBD bus. You can walk around Circular Quay. You can still, you know, get a good feeling for the place without having to dig too deep.
Camping at Lane Cove comes to mind as well, with the wildlife up there.
Lane Cove Caravan Park it's almost beautiful. Centre of Sydney, and it's like got parrots and and everything flying around there. Gorgeous. It's quite amazing.
And there's so many free camping places in Australia as well. So if you do, you know, do a road trip like we're doing at the moment, we have a camper trailer, and you know, we can camp in all these beautiful places for free. So it's something to think about too.
Well, you haven't really done anything to dispel the notion that I'd really like to go there. So thank you for that. So on a slightly different one, but maybe linked in some ways to the experience that all of us have, and the difference between travelling with kids and without kids. I mean, do you think you can still fully experience a destination? This is a question from Philippa. Still fully experience a destination when you're limited to day life as opposed to nightlife, especially when you've got very young children in tow. I mean, you know, can you still get a hold on a big city, on somewhere exciting, if you're not going out all night on the town?
I think those days are over anyway.
Yeah, we just had a date night recently, actually. With who's going to fly the parents in?
I think kids can still, you know, experience a nightlife, because you know, the nightlife doesn't always start at midnight. You know, many places the sun goes down at 6 or 7. The kids are still awake, and you can still go out and see night markets and enjoy restaurants, and you're obviously not going to be out partying, but you can still appreciate it and help them get to see a little bit of the nightlife as well, because I think it's really interesting, especially if they go to places like Asia. That's when the culture really comes alive, and the local people are out with their children as well, so I think you can definitely make it work. Yeah.
We tend to change we tend to change our kind of day a little bit. We wake up much later in the day and we stay up much later at night. It worked particularly well in Iceland, where it was still light at midnight and the kids were out playing badminton at midnight at the tent. But we do tend to shift a little bit.
And some cultures are much more accepting of kids being out at night. You know, take them to a jazz club, or where were we in Chicago? They had jazz evenings specifically for kids. You know, so there are aspects of nightlife you can go and see. Some cultures love it. Perhaps in the UK, but you know, there are many places where actually they're welcomed.
The sort of, you know, the siesta Mediterranean lifestyle comes to mind too. From our time travelling through Italy, you know, the culture there is one very much of a, you know, have a kip in the afternoon and be up in the piazza with music and whatever happening through to the, you know, the later hours of the evening. So, you know, that certainly would fit the kids, and looking forward to that for them. I think also, if you consider, you know, being a parent, you know, we don't go out to the nightclubs now. And that sort of stopped with parenthood, not with travel. So I think it's you know, there's that element of as well. You could stay at home and not go to the nightclubs, or you could travel the world and not go to the nightclubs. It's a bit of two sides to that.
No, I'm gonna move on, lest anyone listening thinks that we're all old farts who don't go to nightclubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll move on. But so classic family travel dilemma. You know, I'm sure one of the main barriers to getting on the road with kids is the perception that flying with them is pretty hard work, and you know, you're dealing with all sorts of things from unpleasant fellow passengers to unpleasant vomiting incidents on planes. A 7-hour plus flight with a hyperactive toddler. I mean, how do you do it? What do you do? How are you going to survive? What do you reckon, Gina, Simon?
Well, I mean, obviously, but that's what we're about to do, really. And so for us, we've been looking at flight times, considering what time we fly out of Australia, whether or not it's, you know, leaving in the mornings, you've got a whole day on a plane, or whether we leave in the evening so that we actually get on the plane just before bedtime. But other than that, just lots and lots of snacks, water, things to keep them occupied, colouring in books, iPods, that sort of thing. So.
We haven't done a lot of international flights with our kids, mainly domestic flights, but we've done a good number of 24 hours straight throughs to Adelaide to Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. You know, stop over in Dubbo, so you know, 14 hours day one, 10 hours day two. The big thing with a car, you can pull over when the vomiting commences. You can get out and have a little bit of air, so that's the difference.
Yeah, very good. Well, Kirstie and Stuart, what do you reckon about flying?
Well, I've always found the bit on the plane with the kind of the most relaxing part of the trip, because they put their headphones on and get the telly, and they're really quiet. So I've never particularly found it a problem, and I think maybe it's a little bit of a myth. We flew with toddlers. One time it did really work for us. We flew to Singapore, off in the middle. There's an open-air swimming pool at the airport, and we checked into a hotel for a few hours and had to rest. So that managed that a little bit.
Okay. Good stuff. Right. Caz and Craig, have you got any stories of hellish flying? Because otherwise I'm going to think it's just me. And everybody else just breezes around having a great time, right?
Our kids are, they're far from perfect, but I think we've started them young, which I think is really important. Like, a lot of people won't fly because they think, oh, I don't want to handle it, my child's too young. But the younger you start them, the more they get used to it. So it becomes quite a exciting and normal thing for them, so they know how to behave and what to do. So we've really prepared our kids. We've spoken to it before they've got on the flight. We speak to them about it weeks beforehand. So we describe exactly what the experience is going to be, what's going to happen when they're on the flight. So when they get on, they're already well prepared, and we involve them in it. Like, I remember our daughter was 17 months old when we went to Thailand, and she was wheeling her suitcase through the airport and handing over her ticket and boarding the plane herself, and it just makes them feel a little bit part of the experience, and so they have a lot more fun with it. But we did have on low budget airlines.
We did learn a lesson last year. We went to Thailand for 2 weeks from Sydney, and we decided to save about $600, I think it was, and fly budget airline with a layover in Kuala Lumpur instead of flying direct. And the meals got messed up, like pre-ordering the meals, and the entertainment system got messed up, and we landed, I think it was about 10 o'clock in KL, and had like a 4-hour layover, so we're chasing our 2-year-old and 6-year-old around the airport, and then got into Bangkok at an odd hour, and everybody was irritated and tired, and then we had an active day organised, so our 6-year-old ended up having a meltdown in the Grand Palace of Bangkok, one of the most sacred places, I guess, in Thailand. So I think long haul, if your budget can afford it, like fly direct, get there as painlessly and comfortably as possible. I know $600 is a lot of money, but if it's a 2-week, if it's your dream, if it's your dream 2-week trip for the year, I think paying that little bit extra and get there as quickly as possible definitely improves the overall experience. So I won't do that again.
I did want to talk a little bit. That was a very neat segue. Thank you for bringing Thailand into the conversation, because I know we've talked a bit about Europe and we've talked a little bit about Australia, but I do want to talk about slightly more exotic territory, for many of us at least. There's a big potential problem around food when you're traveling, and food that many of us love to try. Thailand's probably a fantastic example of this, I'd guess. How can you encourage kids to get stuck in? I mean, Caz, Craig, can I start with you on that one? What do you reckon, encouraging kids to eat unusual stuff, or indeed not to turn their noses up at whatever it is that they've got?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard just to get them to eat what you want in normal life. But I think if you jump in enthusiastically yourself and you try new dishes and encourage them to come and try it with you and just put that attitude across to them, then they see it as a kind of exciting adventure that they want to do themselves. And
one good thing we did in Thailand and Phuket is Caz and Kalyra, our 6-year-old, they did a cooking class, so they got the opportunity to learn some new skills and create the food, and so she was more interested in eating it, and that was just a really good experience. So
it was great fun.
Just being a part of the local culture like that, that was a big bonus.
What do you reckon, Kirstie, Stuart, when you're on a bike around places?
Just to have it at home, our kids have eaten curry since they were born, really, and we have tapas and things like that. So get them trying it at home as part of your routine. I actually asked our middle child last night, what have we done? And he said, "Oh, Mum always bribes us." And I'm like, "What, really? I've paid you to eat?" But I think what he meant was that we have kind of awards and little schemes. At the end of the trip, we always have an award for the person who's tried the most food, and they get a prize. And we have little quizzes based on food with prizes. So things to incentivise their eating without putting it down there.
We're pretty lucky. Our two eat just about anything anyway. They've, since they were babies, they've always tried lots of different foods. Their favourite food is sushi. So, my 7-year-old son will always pick the raw salmon sushi. That's his favourite. So, I mean, obviously chili is a bit of a no-go zone with the 7-year-old, but just try and find the kid-friendly option on the menu, I guess. Yeah.
The big thing that we try and do as well is praise them for trying. So if they, try that, whatever it may be. If they don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Don't have it next time, but
just have a go.
Get in there, try what's there, and if you don't like it, hey,
Yeah.
you're not missing out on anything that way.
Yeah, good. Sounds very promising, actually. I mean, if that's something that's eminently doable, you guys make it sound very straightforward, very easy. It's I'm sure it's very encouraging for people who are watching. I mean, there's before we started this hangout, we kind of identified that we've got quite an interesting broad age range. I think out of between all of us here on this call, I think there are 9 children collectively, between 5 months old and 13 years old. That gives you quite a big spread, and you know. In some cases, it's going to be more straightforward traveling with very small children. In some cases, obviously, if you're with older kids and teenagers, then they're going to be much more a part of things and having more adult experiences as they go on. I mean, do you think that there is a lower age limit to traveling with kids? Is there a point at which you guys wouldn't do something with very young children?
Not really. Lucy took her first camping trip with us when she was 6 weeks old. I flew back from London 7 months pregnant with her, so you know she was flying before she was born. So not really. You know, if anything, the younger they are, the more it's easier to move them. You know,
Right.
just pack them under the arm, off you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they start running around, then you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
We took our first long trip. We took a year out. Cycle biking around. Our children were 2 and 3, and on the way I happened to get pregnant with a third, so I was cycling with them while I was pregnant, and yeah, so maybe there is no younger limit.
Yeah. I don't think there's an age limit at all. I know some people have said to me before, oh, you know, but your children are so young they're not going to remember anything, but I don't think it's about that. I think it's about, it doesn't matter what age they are, they're out there experiencing the world and getting to know themselves better, and it's character forming, and that's what they're going to benefit from family travel by, and that's what their memories are going to come from, is understanding they spent all these years with their parents and having these great adventures, even if they can't remember the details. I think it does so much more for their character that they can start at any age.
Okay, I've got. I think I've got one more regular question, and I'm going to ask some quick fire questions to finish off with. So, this is another one from Cliff. How do you choose destinations when traveling the world with your children? How do you decide where to go? Kirstie, Stuart, let's start with you guys on that one.
I'll start with something that I think interests them. So what are they interested in? What would get them hooked into the journey? What would fire up their imaginations? So it's often that, and then something around practicalities. And what are the practicalities of getting there, and can we do that in the sort of time and budget that we've got there? But I think it's primarily about something hooky, something interesting.
It can surprise you as well. We asked our children if they'd like we've done a lot of travelling this year, and we asked the children if they'd like this summer to just chill or do a really long bike journey, and they all said, no, we'd like to do a really long bike journey, which we weren't expecting.
I wanted to chill.
Yeah.
I quite like to come on your long bike journey.
With
that sounds great. Yeah.
But if you ask them, you kind of got to follow through, and then go with their suggestions and ideas.
Yeah.
I think it's really.
Caz and Craig, what do you guys reckon?
Yeah, I agree with most of that. Like, sit around and discuss beforehand. Ask everybody what their interests are. Try and find that balance. And I think if everybody's doing something that they love and enjoy, it definitely helps. And before we decided to do this big road trip around Oz, we considered doing an extended trip through Asia. But we'd just been in a lot of long trips for many years, and we're tired, and the thought of dealing with public transport and carrying a lot of stuff we just weren't up for it. So we decided on a road trip in Oz. We can we've got our own vehicle, more flexible, and we can carry stuff easier.
We have young children as well, so
young children
easier on a road trip with young our youngest is a toddler, so it's easier to do it this way for us.
Just the fact that we're doing our business obviously as well, like the blog and stuff, it just made everything easier to be more self-sufficient, and public, you don't have as much control with public transport, and definitely communication. If they're old enough to discuss what they want to do.
It's cool. Good stuff. Simon, Gina, how did you decide where you're going to go?
Well, when we first started out travelling as a young couple, Gina was working as a school teacher, so it meant school holidays. So it was, where are we available to go on school holidays? And I guess as we're starting out, a lot of people will be in that same situation. It's what suits the budget and what's available during the time off work. So this time around for us, we're going to be doing homeschooling, and we're quitting jobs and selling property and getting rid of everything like that to give us that freedom to travel. And this time around, we're starting out with comfort. So we're going to be looking to go somewhere where we're comfortable, because we want to be able to, all the things that Stuart and Caz and everyone else have been talking about with giving our kids that experience. We want to be comfortable in ourselves to give our kids that experience. So we're thinking about where can we go where it's budget friendly to start with, where we've got maybe not the language barriers to start with, and just where we're going to be comfortable and where we're going to be able to find our feet and start to
get back in the travel groove.
Yeah, get back in the groove and show the kids the world that way.
Baby steps.
Right, we are on to some fairly quick fire questions now. So I am going to ask you guys. I'm going to do 3 questions, and I'd like 3 answers from all of you. But I'll do the first question and get an answer from everyone. Then and then the next one, then the next one. Okay. So the best place that you have been with kids, Gina and Simon.
Fraser Island, Queensland.
Fraser Island. Fraser Island. Right. Kirstie, Stuart.
I would say, interestingly, Iceland.
Yes.
Incredible, wild, natural attractions, free hot pools everywhere.
Craig, Caz?
Well, at the moment we're at the Gold Coast and everyone's loving it because it's got something for everyone, and of course our kids, being the age they are, loving the theme parks and the beaches. So.
Yeah, wildlife, beaches, weather, theme parks, playgrounds.
Very nice. Right, I'm going to stay with you guys. One place you might not go back to.
To us?
Is this us?
Yeah. You had something you wanted to say?
Well, almost every museum for me. I'm not a museum person, but as far as the destination goes, it's a tough one. Yeah, we find that hard to answer.
Yeah, we didn't have one particular destination that was horrible. The only places we wouldn't go back to is because we've seen it and done it, and there was no reason really to go back.
Oh, one quick thing: we spent 10 days in Fiji in an isolated resort, which we found very limiting and frustrating. We like to get out and about. We couldn't really experience the culture. It was just full of Australians and the same restaurant, the same pool for 10 days. So not that type of experience. I wouldn't like to live that again.
Kirstie and Stuart, is there somewhere you wouldn't go back to?
I don't have one. I'm not a don't go back person.
Yeah.
I think there's always more. I think with the kids, at every age they're different. So going with them someplace as a toddler is different to when they're 10 or when they're 16. There's always more.
What about you guys?
Okay. I don't think there's anywhere we wouldn't go back to. I guess there's probably places we're not ready to go to yet, and so we sort of look at it in those terms that nowhere really awful we wouldn't go back to, but a few countries that we're just not quite ready to tackle yet.
Getcha. Okay, I'm going to stay with you for your one gold-plated tip for anyone travelling with kids. What would you say?
Go slow, take it easy, and I think your expectations. If you bring big expectations to the table, you're setting yourself up to think, well, I didn't quite meet that expectation. Just let it happen, let it go.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good stuff. Okay, Kirstie, Stuart, what's your top tip?
Mine might be a little bit different for Stuart's. I never go anywhere without a giant picnic. My handbag is always full of food.
Great.
Mine would be embrace the giant picnic, because I've resisted it for a long time, but also embrace the unpredictability of it. Stuff won't go according to plan, but that is part of the joy of travelling with the kids. So embrace that and shift your attitude to actually make that as much fun rather than it being a problem for you.
Very good. Cool.
Yeah, totally.
Great, Caz. What's yours?
Things can and will go wrong, and go with the flow and expect the unexpected, and
just
flexible.
Be very flexible. We just reversed our road trip. We were heading clockwise and we just reversed it to go anti-clockwise, so be very, very flexible. Luckily we could do that because we were flexible.
So
Not a wrong turn.
yes. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
It wasn't just a wrong turning.
Yes.
Not a wrong turning, no. Because we were following the #1 tip in going slow, we were going far too slow and ended up in the wrong season, so had to.
Yeah.
There you go. Guys, that's fantastic. I think we're going to wrap up there. If this has piqued your interest in family travel, and I sincerely hope that it has, there's lots more information at lonelyplanet.com/family-travel. You'll find all kinds of useful content, and of course all of our contributors today have some very informative and interesting websites and blogs that you can check out too. So all that remains is for me to thank everybody very much for taking part. It's been great. Thank you so much for all your suggestions. And also, I now feel the need to go and have a giant picnic. So thank you very much for that too. And we will speak to you all soon. We're going to be doing another hangout in a few weeks' time. Yep, great. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.